That idea for a $1 trillion coin to pay down the debt, it won't die. And a congressman from Oregon introduced a bill yesterday to make sure that it does go away. You can bet the judge is fired up about this one. All rise, because he's here, Judge Andrew Napolitano. The proposal is that somebody, the Treasury, mints a coin made of platinum, which they say...
the president's image on it.
With the president, which they say is worth $1 trillion.
Right.
Okay? We'll use that here. Pay down the debt with this.
Deposit it in the Treasury and pay down the debt.
Yes.
Well, why don't they mint 16 of them and pay down all of the debt? I mean, it's absolutely absurd. If this were a valid way to address debts, then why doesn't the government just give everybody in America one of these coins and we'd all be trillionaires?
Why is it invalid? Because it's basically printing $1 trillion. In this case, it's coining $1 trillion.
Okay.
What's the difference?
It would be lawful, because the Constitution permits Congress to authorize the coining and minting. Not the printing. That's another story, which we can go through at another time. But the coining and minting of money. So it would be lawful. But it would be economically catastrophic.
Why?
It would result in massive inflation. It would devalue everything that everybody already owns.
Nonsense.
And it would be fruitless. If this were not...
Nonsense.
Nonsense. You're a terrible liar.
If
this were not so, then why doesn't the government give all of us coins and make all of us billionaires?
Well, why have we're printing $1 trillion a year, more than that? Why hasn't that resulted in massive inflation?
If you're talking about the difference between printing and coining, economically, there is no difference.
But this coin would not go into circulation, is what proponents are arguing.
Well, the coin itself,
inflation.
No, it would create inflation because it would produce cash that would go into circulation.
But the cash would only be used by the government, Well,
wait a minute. The government owes money to your clients, whom you have advised to buy government bonds. So that money is going to go to their banks and to them, and then they're going to spend it. Of course, it would cause inflation.
The issue is that they can mint commemorative platinum coins, so that's the loophole. I hear what you're saying. Listen, you can't...
They could mint a coin with George Washington's image on it,
or Paul Krugman's image, but it has to be a deceased person, by the way. But you can't mint credibility, and once you mint a $2 trillion platinum coin, it devalues the dollar because the dollar would go down.
It's a diversion from the real problem, which is we spend $1 trillion per year, which we don't have.
Diversion. It smacks to the desperation aspect of what's going on here.
And it's not going to happen.
Can we sum it up? It may be born of incredible economic ignorance on the part of some politicians or whoever suggested it, even though Paul Krugman himself, who I am ashamed to say teaches at the school of which I am an alumnus, suggested this.
Judge, doesn't this inspire great pride in American government?
Stop it.
If this guy taught at the London School of Economics, they'd yank his tenure.
He'd be too far left, huh?
Moving on. Last hour, we talked about Oregon taxing hybrid car owners on per mile driven by tracking drivers through their smartphones. How many miles did you drive? We'll tax you on that basis. Tracking. Judge, does that rancor with you?
Yes, it does. The government can track us right now just because I have this, even though it's turned off. The only way to stop the tracking would be to remove the battery. So this is a violation of the right to privacy by the government. It also is counterproductive because, as you pointed out before we started, if you buy a Chevy Volt or one of these electric cars or semi-electric cars that uses a lot less gas, you're going to pay the same tax as somebody who buys and drives a clunker that's a gas guzzler. And that's contrary to public policy.
Yeah, but it brings in the money for the government, doesn't it?
Government doesn't care where it gets the money from.
Precisely.
It doesn't care if it violates your rights. It just cares about staying in power.
But the government wants more green cars, so that's why I want to...
Don't keep him going. We're out of time. Thanks, Judge. Thank you very much indeed.